Inflammation is a very important part of our immune system, and many people don't know that it's a way that our body defends us from injury or from infection. So if you've ever had a sore throat or like a swollen ankle or like a bug bite on your hand or something like that, that's inflammation. But inflammation isn't actually the problem. It's your body's way of fighting back. So what actually is inflammation and what causes the swelling, redness, and heat? And why is it such a big deal in immunity? These are questions that people in immunology ask all the time. So inflammation is part of our immune system, our innate immune system. It's an immediate response to injury or infection or irritation, and it's not a random process. Its goal is to recognize that something is wrong. It brings in immune cells like white blood cells and other types of cells and chemicals. It tries to contain the damage in one area, it tries to clear the threat, and then it tries to repair that area. So it's a protective response, but if it goes on for too long or it happens in the wrong context, it can cause damage, and that's where chronic inflammation comes in. So there's classical signs of inflammation in science and in medicine, and there's 5 classical signs. There's redness. The reason why you see redness is because you have increased blood flow. So think whether you hit your hand and you can see it or you have a sore throat. You have heat because there's so much blood flow. You have swelling because fluid is going to that tissue. You have pain because there is pressure from all the swelling. And then you might have loss of function. This is when pain and swelling limit movement. So these changes are caused by a high amount of immune activity at the site, whether it's your hand, which you can see, or you can think of a sore throat, which we've all had. So what triggers inflammation? Inflammation begins when immune cells recognize danger, and this danger can be from infection, from a pathogen like bacteria or viruses or parasites. It can be from injury like cuts or burns or trauma. It can be from allergies or toxins. It can even be from damaged cells like in people who have autoimmunity. And the first immune cells on the scene are macrophages or mast cells, and they release these chemical signals called cytokines and inflammatory things like histamine and prostaglandins. So in this inflammation process, you can think of it as 4 main steps. There's vasodilation. Vaso comes from vessels, like blood vessels, and they dilate, meaning they get bigger. So the blood vessels get bigger so that they can increase blood flow to the area. This brings in oxygen and nutrients and immune cells, and it causes the redness and heat that we see. We also see these increased vascular permeability. That means that things can go in and out. So blood vessels become leaky so that immune cells like white blood cells and proteins like complement proteins can enter the tissues, and this causes edema, which is swelling. Next, there's immune cell recruitment. So neutrophils will go first, and then there's monocytes, macrophages, and they respond to signals from complement or interleukins or histamine, and these cells destroy pathogens and try to clean up the area. Finally, there's resolution. So once the threat is cleared, there is anti-inflammatory cytokines to help turn off the response. And this is where tissue repair begins. If the threat keeps happening, so inflammation can become chronic. Like if you keep seeing the allergen or the pathogen. Now, in the last lesson, it was about complement system. It was a while ago, but in that lesson, you learned that C3A and C5A, which are parts of the complement system, help trigger inflammation. So they attract immune cells, they increase blood vessel permeability, they amplify the response so that inflammation is stronger and fast. And so this is inflammation. I tend to think of inflammation similar to fever. A little bit is good. Too much is bad. So when too little inflammation is also not that great. So you don't want too weak of a response, but too much inflammation is the problem. So too much inflammation can start damaging tissues. It's also seen in autoimmune diseases like rheumatoid arthritis or lupus, and you can also see it in chronic inflammatory diseases like asthma or IBD, so that's the bowel disease. And then there's many examples of inflammation. So the best things I can think of are infection. So when you see an infection, you see inflammation. Allergies, you see generally like stereotypical allergies, or you see a big nose and everything here bigger, that's swelling. There's autoimmunity, so your immune system mistakenly targets your own tissues. Sometimes you see inflammation in exercise recovery. So there's little damage that we call micro damage, and it happens to muscles and it causes temporary inflammation. This leads to repair and growth. That's in exercise. So to summarize all of this up, inflammation is a fast and targeted response. It's localized. It helps our body recognize that there is danger, bring in good white blood cells, which are immune cells, destroy pathogens like viruses, bacteria, fungus, and begin repair. It's triggered by cytokines, which are signaling molecules. There's complement proteins, there's immune cells. But too much is not a good thing, so we have to be careful. And also, if inflammation is targeting the wrong area, that's also bad. So that's inflammation. It's part of your innate immune system.